When you do vibe coding, you might not know how far you can go. What I did last week was going through a new challenge, building and vibe coding a mobile app for trading. And that was awesome. So I didn't want to come up with a general trading app. I wanted to come up with a problem. So you see that many of the trading apps have this concept called portfolio, and it's not a design portfolio. It's your assets portfolio. What assets do you have? What are the stocks? What are the ETFs? What are the cryptos that you have? And you want to be able to see a high level view of them and be able to manage them. One feature for new users is to be able to not new users or users who have basic knowledge of trading, of how I can make sure that my portfolio is healthy. So the task for me, the challenge for me was building a solution that gives insights to the users to be able to track the health of their portfolio. And I did that through vibe coding. My assistant was ChatGPT, and I created the prototype using Figma Make. And I'm walking you through the uh, changes and how I came up with the final design. Bear with me. So you see, here is the final. It's not final. It's the first version, the early version that I had. As you see here, I started with this prompt, and in the prompt, it didn't mention anything about style or anything. So the style is not that bad. It's good for a mid-fidelity UI, but let's go through it. So structure, the screen one is a portfolio health. I already mentioned that this is inside a trading app. And I've described how the health is being measured. Like the header shows portfolio health, health status, like three statuses: healthy, needs attention, or at risk. So you see that all these levels are highlighted here, and status pill under gauge, so line explaining tests, etc. So you see the structure is built based on what I gave it as input and how I did that. So I came up with a text of what I want to build and how I want to build it. I give it to ChatGPT and I said, give this, turn it into a prompt. I'm going to give it to Figma Make to create this mobile app for me. So one thing that I encounter like a lot is actually seeing these scroll bars, and I don't want to have them in mobile UI. So the first thing that I did was make this UI responsive with a focus on being mobile first. Actually, let's use this version. So the cool feature about Figma Make is that you can preview your previous version. So you see, this is the previous version. When you say mobile, but this size of the screen are actually part of the generated UI. So what I did was make this UI a responsive UI with a focus on being mobile first. So I did that, and this was the next version. So you see, we don't see that gap and padding inside it. So what I did was focusing on the screen that I wanted to show, which was iPhone 16 Pro. And the next thing was removing these scroll bars. And you see, I mentioned literally the same thing: remove the scroll bars, and it came up with this version. And this was the final version that I wanted to get for the mid fidelity and the low fidelity part. And you can see that it shows the portfolio health, shows the diversification score, concentration score, and risk level. And if I click on insights, it's going to show me more details of what these mean and what needs to be done. And if the user clicks on any of them, it gives them more details, like what high concentration means. It says 24, 42% of your assets are on Tesla. And this is like the next step. So, which is learn more, explore ETF, explore other sectors. And if you click on adjust allocation, I didn't design this part, but if you click on adjust allocation, it's going to come up with recommendations and some other fixes that the app would probably recommend. And you see, this is how it works. In this version, so you see the UI and the layout has changed a little bit because I went back and forth to changing the structure, giving some UI elements. But again, the portfolio page isn't defined yet. So what I did was actually sharing a shot, which I got from Duxica Design Agency. Uh, and I said, okay, define the layout based on this, and it worked pretty well. So what it did, so it's like, don't change the UX, use the typography, color, spacing, and radius from this UI. I want this section to only visually look like this. How can you do that? So I asked the question inside Figma Make, and it came through some reasoning and came up with this suggestion. This is the color that I want to do. This is the typography, spacing, radius, UI element, component style, etc. And then turn this UI into this. So you see, still we have that problem, which I gotta get rid of. But for me, the other part was making it, adding more interactions and engagement. I didn't say any specific stuff. Like I said, add animation to the UI, make it the product more interactive. So it came up with some idea like header slides, down with fading, health score, numbers scale up dramatically, etc. That these were pretty cool ideas, to be honest. Um, so let's see that, and you see how it worked, right? Pretty good, right? And look at this star moving, and look at these icons. So I know that this is too much. So especially on a mobile app, you wouldn't have something like that. But this is cool animation, right? So this gives a good visual storytelling and visual hierarchy. And this is what you can make, what you can do with Figma Make. So the next thing that I did was add a page for the portfolio itself. Status about portfolio health, where the tapping on that, the user would be redirected to this flow. And again, it came up with, I didn't give it anything, to be honest. So it came up with the first scratch by itself. So let's see. And this was the result. Not pretty bad, huh? So you see the total value, portfolio health comes here. You see your assets and everything. But there was some problem. Like still the scroll bar. Like the portfolio health is still sorry, this one's sticky and everything gets stuck behind it. So I went through, you can see this is what I did. This is what I went through. Just wanted to show you that it's not a linear path to get to that final result that you're looking for. So I went through section by section, page by page, and let's see the final version, version 60. So let's see how it looks. Let me make it iPhone 16 Pro. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't working. I was shocked. Okay, what happened to this? This is a live demo. I have to start the recording from scratch, but no, this is the final result. So I added a dark version. So I wanted to see how it's look like in dark view, but let's see the light view to see this is how the UI matches. And you see we have the portfolio value. We have these cool charts here. It can change to day, week, month, year, max. And we have this portfolio chart bar, pie chart, which shows the diversification, three diversified, like on stocks, ETFs, and thematic pies. And the portfolio health, it's very simple, shows a score and shows a little bit of details. And on holdings, initially this was just one list of assets. So I divided them into stocks, ETFs, and thematic pies, which the users can actually purchase, they can acquire. So the next thing is to actually see the portfolio health. And I have this button here, which when didn't want to get distracted all the time. Maybe they don't want to see it all the time. So I had this idea that how we can get rid of it. So I added this hide thing, but let me refresh and get back to it. And the idea was you can get it back from the settings or the next time that you load. So let's move on with the dark UI actually, or the light. Let's make it consistent. So it goes here. You see pretty much the first screen, I made this sticky, make some changes to the colors and layouts because I wanted to see how it looks like in the dark view. So I had this switch here, but you see there are some problems in the chart here. I went back and forth to make this look good. It didn't happen. And the other one was the colors that were defined here. I didn't want to build a design system from scratch, and I didn't add any design system to this. So I literally prompted and described everything, and this is how it was built. And maybe the problem was I started from the light version and instead just said make a dark layout out of it and check for accessibility issues and so on. So let's see the diversification. You see the layout is pretty much the same. Instead of this button is sticky at the bottom, and see how to improve, and shows actual insights, shows what was found, shows for high risk, moderate risk, and low risk. And it says recommendation like auto balance. This is some other suggestion. Maybe you could view ETFs. And there are some add global exposures, like not to focus on a specific region on a market, but also exploring other market. And there's also like a portfolio diversification 101, just like some guides with which they can actually go through and say a disclaimer, these are suggestions, not requirements. You're in control of your investment decision. That's really important in trading, and they have this disclaimer all over the place, everywhere. So let's get back to the overview and get back to this, and everything is also available in light version. Huh? What do you think? Pretty cool, huh? But one important thing, when I'm actually designing, I'm not doing it this way. So what Figma Make creates looks like a concept. And when you want to go through details and make, those little details count, it doesn't worth the time. So the good feature that it has is that you can copy your design here and then move it back to Figma. And then in Figma, you can adjust everything. For instance, let me show you this one quickly. For instance, when I switching from the linear chart to pie chart, you see this switch, this toggle switches places, which it isn't a good experience. So, and there are some other parts as well. So what I did, instead of going through the colors and everything, going through them one by one, I did this. I copied the design and I adjusted everything based on the design system that I had. So this is actually the image, the PNG that I had for presentation. I actually added a presentation for this, but let's see. For instance, you see that the chart looks like this. Then uh, kept the I kept the total value. It was hidden, and I remained a toggle on this part. And the portfolio house, both on the dark layout and a light layout, I give it some color, which actually describes the portfolio health. So this is like a yellow to orange. So it's like there's not something serious, but it needs attention. When it's green, it means that the portfolio is healthy. And there are some other parts as well. So you see the colors weren't like this. So I again went through remember the problem that I talked about, the contrast of the chart. So if we go through this detail, especially here, you see there's a problem on the strokes on the background. So this is how I changed it, and also the label colors. I wanted to bring more insight, so that's how I added it. So this is how I do things. Just this is a playground. This is not actually a UI, but I wanted to make sure that this is a complete end-to-end journey, describing how I would use Figma Make and vibe coding as my prototyping tool, and to come up with a final idea that I can hand over to developers and add more details into it. That was it. Tell me what you think in the comments and follow for more. If you want to see more of my videos, make sure to follow my LinkedIn and YouTube.